Hello and welcome to today's video on key features of graphs and intersections. We'll start with the key graph features. So the key features are maximums and minimums, intercepts, symmetry, zeros or roots, and vertical or horizontal asymptotes. So a minimum or maximum would be something in a graph like this. These would be local maximum. Your overall maximum is going to be positive infinity. And then these are local minimums. And your overall minimum would be negative infinity, because these graphs will go on forever. So for your intercepts, this is your y-intercept, where your function hits your y-axis. And these are your x-intercepts. These would be also considered your zeros or roots. So these are your x-intercepts. You'll have symmetry if your graph can be divided along a point or a line. So in a graph like this, like your quadratic function, you'll have symmetry where x is equal to your vertex point. And then finally, we have vertical and horizontal asymptotes. In a function like your tangent function, it looks like this, and it's going to have asymptotes like this. So as you get closer to a value, you're going to go to positive, negative infinity, or some number, but it's never going to hit that number. So your asymptote is a value that your function gets closer and closer to, but it never actually hits. So these would be vertical asymptotes, and then you could also have a horizontal asymptote like this, where it gets closer and closer to zero, but it's not actually going to hit zero. So you would have a horizontal asymptote here. And you could also have one going this way. So those are your key graph features. So next we'll learn how to find intersection points using technology. So here on our calculator, we'll enter the equations into y equals. So I've entered two equations here already. And then we'll click graph. So here are our two equations. You can see there's an intersection point here and here. So to figure out what those intersection points are, we'll click Second, Calc, and go down to Intersect, and click Enter. And then to find this one, we'll move our cursor close to that first intersection point, and then we'll click Enter 3 times. So the intersection here is negative 3.6, and y is negative 8.3. To find the second one, we'll do Second Calc, go down to Intersect again, and then move towards the second intersection. And once we're close to it, we'll click Enter 3 times. So the second intersection is at 1.6 and 2.3. So that's how you find your intersection points. So here we have our first practice problem. It says find the key features of the equation g of x equals 3x squared plus 5 over 2x cubed times the sine of 60x degrees from negative 6 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 6. Then graph the equation. We'll start by putting g of x into y equals. We'll put our numerator and denominators in parentheses so that it's clear what the numerator and denominators are. 3x squared plus 5 parentheses divided by 2x cubed. And then we're going to multiply that by the sine of 60x times sine 60x. And we want to make sure we're in degree mode, which we are, so that's good. And then we're going to graph it from x is negative 6 to 6. So you want to make sure your minimum and maximum are adjusted to negative 6 and 6. And then click graph. So here it's drawing our graph. We have the first part here, and then there's a second portion here. So first we'll find the minimums. So we'll do Second Calc, and we'll go down to minimum and click Enter. So there's going to be a minimum over here and over here. So we'll start with the one on the left. So you need to move to the left of the minimum. So we'll go all the way over here. And then you got to move to the right of the minimum. So then we'll keep moving until we know we're past it and click enter, and then hit enter again for it to guess the minimum. So this is negative 4.255, comma, negative 0.372. So now we'll find the second minimum. We'll do second calculate minimum. We'll move over so that we're left of the second minimum. And we'll hit enter. And then we'll go to the right of the minimum. And hit enter, enter. So this is 4.255, comma, negative 0.372. Next we have our y-intercepts. There's no point where the function hits the y-axis, so there isn't a y-intercept. To find your y-intercept though, you would do second calc value, and you'll enter 0 for x. And you can see that there's no y value for that. Then for symmetry, you want to see if there's a line where your function is symmetrical on both sides of it. And for us, that's going to be when x equals 0, because it's the same on both sides. And you can see that from our minimums, that they're at the same y values and then opposite x values. For our zeros, you'll do second calc 0. We'll start with the one farthest to the left. So left bound, right bound. We've got a 0 at negative 60. We'll do calculate again, another 0. Move to the right. We did our left bound, now we'll do our right bound, and then hit enter. We have a 0 at negative 3, and this is essentially 0. So it'd be negative 3, 0. We'll calculate the next 0. We'll move over to the right again. And then we'll make sure we're on the other side of the 0. And we have a 0 at x is 3, y is 0. And then our final 0 it won't let us get all the way over to 6. So we'll do zoom out and hit enter. We'll give it another second to graph. And we'll do second calc 0. We have our left bound and our right bound. So we have a 0 at x equals 6. So it'd be 6, 0. The next thing we have is our vertical asymptote, which is going to be at x equals 0, because as you get closer and closer to 0, so if we click trace, as you move towards x equals 0, your y is going to go up to infinity, and then as you move towards 0 from the left, it's going to go up towards infinity. So you have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. And then we don't have any horizontal asymptotes because there's no value that our y value is approaching as x moves to the right or the left. So those are all of your key features for this graph between negative 6 and 6. So now we'll go ahead and draw that graph. So we have minimums around negative 4 and positive 4. So we'll do we'll go negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 5, negative 6, and positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our minimums are at negative 0.372, so we only need to go down to negative 1. So we'll have a minimum at 4.255, negative 0.372, so around here. We'll also have one at negative 4.255, negative 0.372. So around here. We don't have a y-intercept. We have a line of symmetry at x equals 0. So we'll draw that in. We'll also label it as our line of symmetry. We have zeros at -6, 0, -3, 0, 3, 0, and 6, 0. We have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0, so we can also label this as our vertical asymptote. And then we don't have a horizontal asymptote. So we can go ahead and graph this. And that is what you would do for this problem. So here we have our first IB practice question. It says, for the equation f of x equals x to the fourth minus 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 5, find the coordinates of A, local maximums, B, local minimums, C, y-intercept, D, zeros, and then does the equation have any symmetry? We'll start by entering f of x into y equals. So we have x to the fourth minus 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 5. And then we'll hit graph. So we need to find the maximums, minimums, y-intercepts, zeros, and any symmetry. So we'll start with our local maximum. So we'll do second calc, and we'll go down to maximum and click enter. So we'll have a maximum right here where it goes up. So we'll hit enter to the left of it, we'll move to the right, and then hit enter twice. So our local maximum is at 0.4999, comma, -3.94. So 0.5, comma, -3.94. Then we need to find the local minimums. We're going to have 2 of those. So we'll do second calc, minimum, move to the left, hit enter, move to the right of it, hit enter twice. So we have a minimum at -1, -9. And then we'll calculate our other one, minimum, to the left of it and to the right of it. So this one is at 2, -9. So those are our minimums. Our y-intercept is going to be this point, so we can do trace and enter 0 for x. And that'll give us -5 as our y-intercept. And finally, we need our zeros. So our zeros are where it hits the x-axis. So we'll do second calc, 0. We'll go to the left of it and to the right of it. So we have a 0 at -1.79 and y equals 0. And our other 0 will be at -2.790. And you can tell that it has some symmetry, and it's going to be symmetrical across this line where our maximum is. So we'll have a line of symmetry at x equals 0.5. So in summary, the key graph features are maximums, minimums, intercepts, symmetry, vertices, zeros or roots, vertical asymptotes, and horizontal asymptotes. We also can use technology to find the intersection of 2 curves. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching.